So this might be a shocker for some people, but I don't like movie theaters. I don't like going at all. It is probably one of the worst experiences I ever have in my life. I never picture myself in my mind hanging out with the boys in the theaters, having some overpriced popcorn and soda, and I never yearn to go back to a theater except when it's a movie that I actually want to watch. So for the most part, I don't go to movie theaters at all. Typically, I go 2 to 3 times a year just to watch an anime movie, and that's it. And so today I went to go watch a new Dragon Ball movie, and it's decent. It's not bad, it's not great, but it's decent. I will try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. I mean, it's really kind of hard to spoil Dragon Ball. I feel like if you've been watching the series long enough, then it's kind of hard to really be like, you know, super surprised that something happens on screen. It's kind of like expected at this point, but there are still some nice things that did happen throughout the movie, and I will make sure to avoid saying anything about those. So let's just start with one of the biggest changes with this movie compared to the other ones. The main characters of this movie is Piccolo and Gohan. Goku and Vegeta probably have like 4 to 5 minutes of screen time, and that's it for this entire movie. Why am I noting this? Because I know there are people out there who only care about Goku and Vegeta, or they don't really care about the side characters enough to the point where they want to go in theaters and watch the movie. But I did want to just put it out there that if you are a fan of Gohan and Piccolo, you've been waiting for them to have their shine again and have the spotlight on them, this is their movie. Goku, Vegeta, Broly, all the main characters that normally you're used to in every single movie that are prime and centered, I mean, they're here, but they're here for a couple minutes at most, and then they're forgotten for the rest of the movie, which is a nice change of pace if I'm being honest. Now let me rip the band-aid off and talk about the one thing that everyone has had controversial opinions on since the announcement of this movie, which is the animation. So the animation isn't bad, but I'll be honest, it reminds me of video game cutscenes. I feel like the parts that shine the most of this animation style is the fights. Fights actually look spectacular. I enjoy watching them a lot. There are a couple parts that do look kind of weird, but for the most part, the fights look great. Now, when it comes to everybody just talking or just sitting there, it looks, I guess, mediocre to me. Like, it's not bad. I don't want to say that it's bad. There are worse animes out there that have tried 3D style, so I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever. But when you got something like the Lupin the Third movie that tackled 3D animation and it looked fucking brilliant, that looks good. If you have not seen that movie, I recommend you watch it. It is so good. But when I watch that, like, my expectations are like up here, and I know Dragon Ball won't meet it because that's just, they have no reason to, but it's just, I've been spoiled. So not reaching that pinnacle kind of hurts, but it is what it is. Again, it's not bad, but it's not amazing either. It looks good when it comes to fights, but when it comes to actual just static talking and conversations, it just leaves a lot to be desired. Throughout this entire movie, I just kept asking myself, what if this was 2D? What if it was animated like it was the Broly movie? That would have looked fucking spectacular. So for the story, it's decent. It's what you come to expect in every Dragon Ball. It's nothing new or innovative. It's pretty much follows the same formula they've always followed in the past. I think they did a great job of balancing out the humor and the seriousness of the actual movie. You have those parts where it's goofy and it's silly and it just reminds you like good old Dragon Ball, and then you have the parts where it's actually serious and like shit's about to get real. I didn't really feel like the comedy overstayed its welcome. I genuinely found a lot of the jokes funny that they try to throw in there. It's not like they were, you know, busting puns left and right or, you know, whipping out jokes left and right, but the few moments in there where you can tell it's supposed to be a funny moment were genuinely funny to me. I actually laughed out there. So it did its job for me. I think with this movie focusing on Piccolo and Gohan was kind of a good move. It kind of changed the formula up instead of it always being about Goku and Vegeta. So it's very appreciated to see that side of it. I feel like the one thing this movie did better than the Broly movie was just variety. I feel like it wasn't all just taking place in one specific area for a majority of the runtime. You have different things happening throughout the entire movie, and it feels like just things are happening instead of it, like I said, just taking place in one location. It's not something I feel was detrimental to the Broly movie, but I do like variety in different scenes, locations, whatever you might want to call it. You know, just something to spice it up so I'm not just in one spot the entire movie. But with that being said, is there anything that I disliked about it? I just felt like the end was kind of lackluster. They had some really hype moments for it, but the villain itself just left me like, why? Without going into spoilers, I feel like with the villain they introduced, it just left a lot to be desired. There was so much potential that they could have done with this, and they didn't do anything. I just felt let down with the way they handled the villain, and it kind of left me forgetting about it already. There's nothing memorable about it. I feel like where this movie shines is just character development and just giving light to characters who are always in Goku and Vegeta's shadow. I feel like that's what this movie does well. It gives those people an actual spotlight and significance and importance to the actual anime again, instead of just being on the side being Goku and Vegeta's hype men and bringing them water whenever they get injured. They have now been given a new life once again, and who knows where they go in the future. That's the real highlight of this, and I actually appreciate that a lot. Yes, I like Goku and Vegeta. I'm a diehard for them. I could watch any Dragon Ball movie with them at this point, but it's nice to see that other characters do get their shine once in a while because it just makes things more interesting overall. I guess the only other real complaint I would have is the music. I don't think it's trash. I think there's some highlights in there, but I did notice a lot throughout the movie that they kept reusing the same like soundtrack song over and over as like a hype song, I guess, or to get you motivated. And I just felt that was kind of like off-putting, not like to the point where it's bad, but it was like, couldn't there be a little bit more variety to it? I feel like if I'm to the point where I'm noticing it over and over and over, that maybe there should be like, I don't know, extra variety of that song, like a different mix, you know, an extension version of it instead of just playing the same exact one repeatedly. But nonetheless, the music was still all right. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't that bad. Now, do I think it's a movie worth going out into theaters and seeing it immediately? It depends how big of a Dragon Ball fan you are and how much you really care about story and spoilers. For me, this is a movie I feel like I could have waited for it to come out digitally on streaming services or Blu-ray, and I would have been fine. I don't think this is a movie that I must go see right now. This is a movie I feel like I can just wait, you know, catch up on it like half a year from now, and I would still be all right with it. It wouldn't be something I feel like I missed out on if I didn't see it day one. Anyways, this is all I have for you. Have a great day, and yeah.